What's up, everybody? Every money. I did it again. Every money. Hey, throw it up for money. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're tuned in from. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. My name is Kellam. Welcome to the show. I had a little bit of a day. I won't call it a day off. I was traveling. I had some other things I had to take care of. I was in New York over the weekend, over this last week. I'm back in the studio. Upgraded the camera. We have this really nice camera we use for all the BitLab Academy course content. For whatever reason, I was using a whole different camera before, and I decided, you know what? We're going to upgrade. We're going to make it look a little nicer. We're going to bring you the best here. Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. Let's go ahead and dive on into it today. How are you feeling? Have you been buying? Have you been selling? Have you been seeing Bitcoin ride that line right on support? Coming over here to Bitcoin. Here we are. Coming over here to Bitcoin. Coming over here to the chart. We could see, I mean, look at this tap right here. Look at this tap right here. Look at this little bit of a breach here. Is this indicative that this line won't hold? Well, as it stands right now, Bitcoin, this is the Bitcoin spot chart on BitGet, 8-hour chart. We can see that the price is squeezed right between this weekly VWAP, and it's holding right on this trend signal line. Trend signal line and the VWAP over here, as you can see on the BitLab Intelligence. So what's going to happen if we break above this or get rejected where we're at and drop below not only this trend signal line, which is also basically perfect confluence with where this support line is? What is the support line? Let's go ahead and figure it out. The support line has come all the way back here from November 2022. Multiple touch points here where we're basically bouncing on this level right here in early January. And it took us all the way until right here on August 17th before we bounced on it again. And we're kind of coming into this zone. So what are we to do? Well, there's some big news stories right now that could change everything for Bitcoin. Is it going to change immediately? No, nothing happens really immediately except for sentiment pump. You know, we've seen sentiment pumps with BlackRock. We've seen sentiment pumps with Grayscale, only to be rejected because nothing fundamentally changed. But there's something that, in terms of an accounting basis, which has fundamentally shifted and may make it easier for institutions to get involved, make it, at least at minimum, a little bit more attractive. So we're going to be talking about that. And we're going to be talking about what's going on in these charts. And I hope to see you all at 3 p.m. as well. We're going to be doing that TA stream this afternoon. So if we don't get to any of the coins that you want to see in this morning show, we will be breaking it down this afternoon at 3 p.m. So again, my name's Kellam. This is your first time here at BitLab Academy. I guarantee it's not going to be your last. So get involved, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, ding the bell. Let's dive into it. Now, before we where's my mouse? Before we get into it, make sure you head over to my Twitter page right here at twitter.com/KellyKellam. You can also see all my information right over there. And this, make sure you're following the correct one. Blue check, hit logo. And then, of course, head over to the BitLab Academy page right here at Academy BitLab. And look for that gold check, look for that hit logo, and make sure you're following. Hit that retweet, hit that like button. This is how you get entered to win. We do giveaways very regularly here on the channel, and we pick randomly from those that are helping support the channel and get the word out there so people know where they can find the information, skills, tools, strategies, understanding of the market, bridging that gap from beginner to pro. Now, let's go ahead and break down what we want to break down today. We're going to go through some news stories. And of course, as always, we're going to break down the charts and let you know what we're seeing, where these probabilities are stacking up in terms of what's the probability bias. Who cares what my bias is? Who cares what your bias is? What is the probability bias? Where do the probabilities lie in the data suggesting what direction Bitcoin, Ethereum, and some of our favorite alts, what direction they're going to be going so that we can capitalize on that moment? Now, before we really dive in here to all of this, I want to ask you, how's everybody doing? Are you feeling grateful? Are you feeling productive? Are you happy about the actions you've been taking over this last week or this last month? If you're not, every day is another opportunity for you to jump back on that path and get yourself moving towards the goals that you have, whether it's more capital in your crypto portfolio, whether it's better relationship with your friends and family, whether it's, you know, taking care of that problem that you haven't taken care of. Whatever it is, getting a little more active in the morning. So you start with your body vibing, doing push-ups or sit-ups or walking or, you know, sitting and watching the sunrise. I don't care what it is. Do something outside of the charts in a couple different sectors of your life. Remember, health, wealth, family, relationships. What are you doing to move yourself forward? If you're not doing anything to move yourself forward, why the hell would you expect things to change for the better? You can choose the pain you have in your life. Things will always come up. Hardships will always present themselves. But what you can always have and what you can always rely on is what is your tool set? What's your skill set? What is your process? What is your strategy? Not just in trading, but in everyday life to make sure you're moving towards your goals. Because if you don't have those things in place, why should you ever expect things to change? Now, I just wanted to start off with a little bit of positivity, a little bit of encouragement. And I just want to shout out everybody that's here in chat on a daily basis. I know people were, I don't want to say upset, but I'm sorry I didn't stream yesterday. I had some things I had to do, but we're back and we're better than ever. We're going to get into this. So let's go ahead and start with the stream. Fair value accounting rules open the doors to institutions to hold Bitcoin. What is this talking about? Well, one of the things that is different for institutions as it relates to Bitcoin compared to retail, individual investors, is how investments are reported and accounted for on their balance sheet. Now with Bitcoin, you may have seen the story from some other places, but we got to talk about it here. We got to break it down so everybody understands. What this is talking about essentially is with other assets, let's say Apple stock, let's say, Con Edison, let's say, oil, then fair value essentially means when you are investing in this stock, if you're buying or selling a stock, when you buy or sell, it's on your balance sheet. When you sell a stock, then you have to account for the gains or the losses. With Bitcoin, there's been a little bit of a fly in the ointment, if you will, that it's kind of, I don't want to say prevented, but it has been a considered hurdle for institutions to be involved with Bitcoin because, well, let's say you buy Bitcoin, you're an institution on January 15th of a year. And over the next 5 days, it drops 20% in value. But it immediately rebounds within that month, by the end of the month. And at the end of the year, you are up 100%, but you're holding. Without fair value accounting for Bitcoin, when institutions were buying and seeing any dip, any point along the way below their entry price, they had to declare a loss on their balance sheet. Now, while that could be good because it could be a tax benefit and this and that, however, the problem with all this is that it also makes it look like if a company has Bitcoin on their balance sheet, that they may be operating with basically it's a negative expenditure on their books. So it shows that they're actually less profitable when they could be actually up 100% on the investment they made, but they can't account for that unless they sell. So Michael Saylor, the godfather of Bitcoin at this point, in the sense of how vocal he is and how much he's pushing forward within the Bitcoin space, how much he's championing this for institutions and working with legislators and all the things. I mean, he is doing so much good for crypto, and he's very smart. He's very articulate. He helped push forward fair value accounting rules, open the doors for institutions to hold Bitcoin. So let's read into this a little bit. Fair value accounting rules are being applied. These changes make it easy for institutions to treat Bitcoin as a reserve asset. The move is expected to attract more institutional investment into Bitcoin. And a significant development that could pave the way for broader institutional investment. Now, remember what's coming up. We also have the Bitcoin spot ETFs, which are all on the horizon. And now we have, and I've been talking about this over the last 2 years, when are they going to adjust the rules for fair value accounting? It looks like they're finally getting, tackling this a bit. This could basically pave the way for broader institutional investment in Bitcoin. Fair value accounting rules are being applied to the cryptocurrency. This change means that institutions will have an easier time holding Bitcoin as a reserve asset on their balance sheets, potentially attracting increased investment from the sector. So we have the spot ETFs all on the horizon. And it's a pretty broad consensus, not if, but when that happens. Does it happen in the next month? Does it happen late in this year? Does it happen early next year? I think generally the consensus is it's going to happen And more likely than not, it'll probably come up on one of those time frames where the terminal deadline is, which is 240 days from when all the spot Bitcoin ETF applications were in. Now, we did see a little bit of movement on this in terms of positivity, in terms of how government was viewing this. And there's some people in our government that do have more than one brain cell, because we see that the courts gave Grayscale a win against the SEC, but it doesn't say that spot ETFs can happen immediately. What it said was that rejection needed to be reviewed because there was no good standing on why the rejection took place. And by the way, Randall, you're still on my mind. I've had some things come up, but I'm going to be taking care of you today. So hit me back on Twitter. I'm going to make sure you're taken care of. So come here. So what are fair value accounting rules? Fair value accounting rules allow companies to assess the value of assets based on their current market value. This is what was not the case with Bitcoin prior to this. Rather than purchase price or book value for volatile, rather than the price that they bought it at, essentially. For volatile assets like Bitcoin, this accounting method provides a more accurate reflection of an asset's true value at any given time. Implications for institutions. The new accounting treatment eases regulatory and compliance concerns that have previously made institutions wary of holding Bitcoin. Now they can record the value of Bitcoin assets more transparently, making it easier to justify holding the cryptocurrency as a part of a diversified portfolio. And this is going to be holding Bitcoin and crypto in general as a part of diversified portfolio. This is going to be one of the main, driving factors for multiple reasons going into this next bull run and here on out. It's only going to increase from here. Institutions getting that stamp of approval from Larry Fink and BlackRock. And starting to see when mid-sized businesses and small businesses and other large businesses start seeing their peers, their competitors, adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets, it's only going to grow in its legitimacy in terms of the perceived legitimacy of other institutions. But then in addition to that, it doesn't only help other institutions get involved, but as those dominoes fall, more and more retail, mom and pop, fund managers, this is going to be a cascading, this is going to be a waterfall of just positivity coming into the space over the next couple of years. Now, if you remember on the Saturday video, the Saturday interview that I did with Didi Taihutu, he brought up a good point. Now, on the one hand, it's going to be very good for all of us that are investing in Bitcoin and digital assets. On the other hand, it's a little bit in contention with what, if you're really tuned into the ethos of decentralized assets, decentralized digital assets like Bitcoin and many, not all, but many of the other crypto assets out there. If you're waiting for this perceived legitimacy to come in, with BlackRock getting involved, with the spot ETFs being approved, all this, you're coming in after the fold. Now, does that mean does that mean that there's not going to be still a huge amount of upside? No, but the dynamic of these markets is going to change as more and more institutions get involved. So every one of you, if you've ever bought a digital asset, if you've ever bought Bitcoin, if you've ever bought Ethereum, if you've ever bought any altcoin, throw a 1 in chat right now. Let's make sure everybody in here is involved in some capacity. It doesn't mean you're fully in right now. Maybe you sold everything, you're waiting for a drop. That's going to be based on your own due diligence. But the point is, you are ahead of the curve by being here. You're ahead of the curve by being involved. You're ahead of the curve just by being curious, thinking maybe there's something here. Well, there is. And I'm proud of each and every one of you for especially. And, let's not even call this a bear market. Let's not even call this a bull market. We are in, we've had a pump, but we're having a drawback now. We're not in what people really want to talk about as being the bull market. The bull market is post-halving, when we really start just getting the parabola that just inches up and up and up and higher and higher and higher. Week on week, you're getting 10%, 15, 30% gains. and that will come. Everybody in this market chases that. It's like a drug. We chase it and we forget that the majority of the time in Bitcoin, the majority of time in the digital asset ecosystem with crypto, that is not the case. And if you're chasing that, if you're chasing gains, if you're trying to catch up to other people, you're only going to be trading your money away. Unless you have a strategy, unless you have the understanding of the data you should be looking at, unless you have the understanding of how to practice healthy risk management so that you can make sure that you're taking advantage of highly probable situations and being aware that even in those highly probable situations, there's a very high likelihood that you could be losing money. So how do you practice your risk management in those parts of the market? So let's continue on here. Conclusion, the application of fair value accounting rules to Bitcoin is a pivotal moment in the crypto assets journey toward mainstream acceptance. By simplifying the accounting process for institutions, this change is likely to attract more sophisticated investors into the space, further legitimizing Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Well, let's be honest. All of us already know. Everybody that's already involved, all these ones I'm seeing in chat right now, we already know that it's a legitimate asset. We don't need to wait for, I don't want to stand in line behind institutions. I've been behind institutions my whole damn life. I'm tired of it. And I'm sure you are too. And that's why it's so exciting that all of us are here right now getting involved. So let's move on to the next story. Okay, here we go. While SEC stalls on Bitcoin ETF, the race for Ethereum fund begins. So there's a spot ETF application in on Ethereum now as well. VanEck and ARK Invest officially filed applications for spot Ethereum ETFs. Now, I just want to highlight here with this story. Now, while this is exciting, beware of speculative pumps. Now, with Ethereum, it's going to be a bit tied to the narrative of what the crypto market is at the time. And that's going to be largely driven by what's going on with Bitcoin, what's going on with the regulations around the spot ETFs for Bitcoin. Are they approved yet? Are they delayed? Is there something entirely different that we can't even account for yet? We don't know. But just note that it's not just, there's so much robust, positive narrative support that's on the horizon, and we're not yet there. But we see the bricks being laid. We see the foundation being built. We see the possibilities, not the givens, not the absolutes. We see the possibilities of what is to come. And we see it not only with Bitcoin, we see it with Ethereum as well. And Ethereum, in terms of institutional investments, Bitcoin and Ethereum, I would argue, probably make up about 98% of all institutional investments in the crypto asset ecosystem. And I'm not talking about VCs investing in projects, and I'm talking about institutions' interest and actual dollars to donuts, actually action in terms of where they're potentially considering or already have put some allocation of their balance sheets into the crypto market. Bitcoin and Ethereum. Why? Because if we come back over to, let's go ahead and pull this up, CoinGecko. If we come over to CoinGecko.com, not CoinGecko, CoinGecko, the reason that is because institutions are not interested in putting something on their balance sheet that's going to have super high risk. Now, Bitcoin and Ethereum already have exponentially more risk than the traditional assets that they could be investing in. However, there's also all this data in history already with Bitcoin and Ethereum that you can use, financial models and adoption and all these predictive things and just the size of these markets, Bitcoin and Ethereum. We see Bitcoin's at $501 billion, Ethereum's at 195. Now look at this. The next one down, we're not even talking about stablecoins. Next one down is 32. BNB is only 32 billion as compared to 200 billion for Ethereum. XRP is only 26 billion as compared to 200 billion for Ethereum. So there's exponential risk the further you go down, and there's no telling what the SEC is going to say about each one of these individual projects. Bitcoin already considered a commodity. Ethereum considered a commodity, but there's a little bit of question around it. But all in all, Bitcoin and Ethereum are where the institutions are looking at possibilities for those that are not yet invested They're not considering investing in, putting on their balance sheet Polkadot or, Avalanche or HBAR. I love all those, I love those projects. But when we talk about institutional investment, we're going to see a huge amount of capital flowing. And it's only going to be very, very small percentage basis of each one of these different institutions when they do get involved of their balance sheet. So we need to be aware of that. Now, coming back over to the story, the move is a response to SEC's recent delay for a Bitcoin spot ETF. We don't really need to go in the story. The point being here is we're likely to start seeing some speculative pumps within Bitcoin. Some speculative points within Ethereum as we get the same sort of domino effect, the same cascading, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of applications starting to be submitted for Ethereum spot ETFs, because now that ARK has done it, it's going to light the fire for any of the other financial institutions out there like Grayscale right here. How long before we see 19B-4, which is the application to roll over their trust to an ETF. And then, all these other institutions, all these other companies that already have the spot ETFs for applications for spot ETFs for Bitcoin. Now, will all of them do it? No, because some of them are going to be only Bitcoin focused, but we're also going to see different types of institutions that are getting involved that want to stay ahead of the curve and stay competitive. We're going to start seeing that domino effect there as well. Watch out if you are an investor in Ethereum. If you hold Ethereum, throw ETH in chat right now. I want to see who holds Ethereum. But we're going to start seeing speculative pumps and then some sell-offs when there's delays. And we have to understand, we have to understand the price action and movements. We're never going to know exactly what's going to happen, but we can forecast with pretty high probabilities based on the playbook of what's happening with the SEC on Bitcoin, for instance. We're seeing things aren't just immediately approved. So we're going to get a speculative pump when all these, a lot of these spot ETF for Ethereum spot ETF applications go in. And as news narratives shift, positive, negative around that, we're also in the timeline for when different delays get announced or denials or rejection because forms need to be refilled out. Rather than being scared because the price action's doing so on and so forth, but then you see a sell-off. You don't sell because you see a red candle. You don't buy because you see a green candle. You use strategy, baby. So let's go ahead and move on from here. We got Grayscale's legal tussle and Bitcoin whales. What's shaping the crypto market? Well, Grayscale's recent triumph over the SEC has breathed new life into the crypto market, particularly enticing whales to invest more. On August 29th, the DC Circuit's Court of Appeals unanimously overturned the SEC's denial of the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust conversion to a spot ETF. Consequently, this win uplifted the spirits of GBTC shareholders and the broader crypto community. Now, there's something else I wanted to say in here. In contrast, Bitcoin miners are facing dwindling revenues, so we need to pay attention to what's going on with miners, because if they're not remaining very profitable, then they can start shutting off their machines until Bitcoin gets back to a price where it's profitable to mine. And if they're shutting off their machines, that also fundamentally sort of changes the perceived idea of what the fundamental value of Bitcoin is, because then the security of the network shrinks because there's fewer miners mining. And also begs the question, if you're not mining and you're not turning profit from mining, are you going to be, moving some of those coins that you've gotten from rewards, which you're no longer getting because you turned off your machine? Is there going to be some selling pressure? All this is this speculative awareness, but it's good to be aware of. A decrease in income can compel miners to sell their holdings. This is exactly what I was just saying, thereby exerting downward pressure on Bitcoin's value. Such market dynamics could set off the gains from increased institutional interest. Bitcoin trades at, okay, we got that. In summary, while Grayscale's recent win and surging whale interests inject optimism, they also introduce new challenges and variables. I mean, that's just the most boring statement ever. Of course, things are changing, and because of that, things change. Yeah, great article, guy. Bitcoin whales send nearly 6,000 Bitcoin to exchanges. So while the thumbnail of this stream was ready, set, launch, ready, set, pump, this could change everything. The fundamental shifts in assets typically doesn't drive immediate price action, but allows you as an investor and you as a trader to be aware of what the fundamental developments are and to look forward, which is what smart and profitable investors and traders do, to see there's some fundamental changes coming that's going to support a positive narrative in this space and a higher likelihood for growth potential of this asset price, which will drive up the capital I have that's allocated to this asset. Therefore, if I'm seeing something like this article right here, 6,000 Bitcoins sent to exchanges, is there going to be a crash? I hope there's a crash, and I hope that you hope there's a crash, because we see that there's fundamental growth on network. There's fundamental, we're seeing, ever increasing new addresses. We're seeing transactions still being completely steady and wonderful. We're seeing an astronomically low amount of Bitcoin. In fact, it was I think it was 94.6, roughly about 95% of Bitcoin in the last 30 days has not moved. We're seeing a higher amount of illiquid supply. We're seeing lower balances on exchanges of Bitcoin, meaning there's not a lot of supply available to trade. So when there is demand, that demand becomes higher, has a higher effect on the market because there's not as much supply to meet that demand. So if there are 6,000 Bitcoins moving to exchanges and there is a bit of a crash, I'm prepared. Are you prepared if there's a little bit of a crash, further crash? And looking over here at the price action, we have all the lines marked out. We've got this line right here that we've been testing, and we're tapping. We also have this, we also have this rolling over nature. We have this wave right here. Is this where the white water on the edge of the wave starts to break and we get that dump down, only to find where that ocean is, where that liquidity is, are we coming down to $21,000, $22,000? Now, that would be very scary for some, but if you're prepared, you would be frothing at the mouth to take advantage of that price action. Now, do I think it's going to go down to $22,000? I don't know. I think there's a higher likelihood than we want to admit, and we also didn't want to admit it at all when we were up here. But price action, much like when it was right in this zone right here, I was mapping out all these targets here. People were calling me bearish. Not only did we hit those targets, we broke below this major support trend line right here and came all the way down to this next one that we have marked out, which felt like it was, oh my God, how could it go there? We have spot ETFs on the horizon. But remember, that's the word, on the horizon. Got to be aware of that. Got 192 people in the room, 90 likes. Everybody hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. I think it's time to, let's actually continue this story a little bit, and then we're going to dive in. We're going to do a bunch of TA on Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I think we're going to be reserving a bunch of the altcoin TA for this afternoon, our 3 p.m. stream, so make sure you tune into that. If you haven't yet, ding the bell so you get notified. We do all TA on the afternoon stream. We don't do news stories unless there's some major, huge event that happens, but all TA focus. But let's another 2 minutes or so, we're going to be diving into the TA, and I want to see everybody in the room hitting that subscribe button, joining us. We still have about 55% of you that watch on a daily basis, meaning you hear something about it is engaging, but you're not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. It lets YouTube know you like crypto content and helps drive this all forward. Investors sent 5,983 Bitcoin worth $155 million to exchanges on Thursday. In the last week, roughly 12,832 Bitcoins have been moved to centralized entities. This spike in inflows indicates a potential buildup of selling pressure as Bitcoin price trades around 25,798. Now, remember, we've talked about on-chain data a lot. And by the way, if you want to really understand on-chain data, make sure you get involved with BitLab Academy right here, bitlabacademy.com. When you become a member, let's actually come right here. When you become a member, we have all these different courses, and we're currently filming a bunch more stuff. But this on-chain data course right here has 19 or 20 different lessons in it, and it helps you understand what the behavior of different types of investors are, and it helps give you leading signals about good areas to get out but near a top, and also where you start allocating back into the market near the bottom. What fundamental data can you look at? Fundamental technical data that can give you insight to start looking to your price action for where to pull the trigger. Then of course we got candles, candle patterns, trading strategies, indicators. Get in on this, and remember all the different courses we have. The products we have: the BitLab Pro, which has all access to all the courses, as well as a premium Discord, as well as all these indicators that we use here on a daily basis. The BitLab Trading Stack, and of course we have the All Access right here, which is premium Discord access, as well as all the courses, but not the indicators. And then of course, if you just want the indicators, come right here to indicators, BitLab Trading Stack, and it pulls up the indicators here. For all three of those different products, you can use Give Me 30 for 30% off your first month. Now, what is this saying? Where are we at? What is it saying? Bitcoin whales, remember, in terms of the on-chain data, why do we care if coins are moving? Why do we care if they're moving onto exchange? If coins are being held, whether it's one Bitcoin or 1,000 or 10,000, if you're holding them off exchange, at some point you move them into private storage, cold storage. It's not available supply. That becomes illiquid supply. And typically, not all the time, but typically, if you're moving it off exchange into private holdings, that also very high probability that is also going to be a long-term held coin as determined by on-chain data, which is 155 days or more. There's statistically, I mean, it drops off a cliff in terms of the statistical data of how likely that coin is going to be traded in the face of volatility once you hold past 155 days. That's why we look at the long-term holder and short-term holder balance within the market and get a good idea of how strong a certain price level is. So if we're seeing whales move coins out of private storage, or out of private holdings, cold storage, not on exchange, and they're moving them onto exchange, what do you do on exchange? Typically, you sell. So now the question is this a manipulation trying to get people fearful and they're moving it on there to drive that metric, or is it highly likely that some of that's going to be sold? In the early Asian session of September 7th, nearly 5,983 Bitcoins were sent to centralized exchanges. This uptick can be spotted on data analytics platform CryptoQuant. We can see this right here. See this green candle right here? Boom. Huge amount. We see this. What does this happen right here? Huge spike here. Sell-off. Does this mean we're going to get a sell-off? It doesn't mean we're going to get a sell-off. It means the probabilities are higher. What do we do when we're investing and trading? We look to data points to identify and understand what the probability bias is in terms of direction for the market so that we can be prepared. That's what we want to do. A closer dissection of this inflow shows that whales sent 5,470 to Gemini. Boom. The 155 million Bitcoin, 1.97% of the 24-hour trading volume of Bitcoin, which currently sits around 7.8 billion. That's the 24-hour trading volume. According to crypto data aggregator CoinGecko, the supply on exchanges has also seen a considerable uptick in the last week. Supply on exchanges, meaning the liquid supply, is going up over the last week. Between September 1st and September 7th, 12,832 moved to centralized entities, signaling a potential buildup of selling pressure. So let's go ahead. I'm going to come off screen real quick. I want to pull up a Glassnode, and I want to look at something. We're going to do this together. And we want to look at, now that we're seeing that, let's pull up the on-chain data. Let's see what that metric, because remember, I was alluding to this about 3 weeks ago or so. And that was, we wanted to look for a setup for the trend of a negative flow on exchanges, meaning coins coming off of exchange. We wanted to see if there was going to be a mean reversion back to zero and then coins going onto exchange, because it could foreshadow another sell-off. So coming here onto the chart, let's go ahead. I don't need to take a survey. Here we go. Net position change. Let's see what's going on here. Now zooming in here. Now remember, green is coins going onto exchange, AKA leading into sell pressure. I mean, look at this right here. All these coins moving onto exchange, this price is going parabolic. It's allowing people to prepare to sell. And then there's going, typically, what do we get? This large sell-off. These huge inflows of the exchanges started really right when we broke the previous all-time high. People are preparing leading up to it. And then there's all this coin. And then similarly, if we zoom in right here. See, these coins came onto exchange right here, sell off. A lot of coins coming off of exchange. Coins go onto exchange, sell off. Coins start coming onto exchange right here. And we get a little bit of sell off. We get the narrative sort of bump when the banks were having a lot of issues and a lot of people started buying into Bitcoin. But there was still a lot of coins going onto exchange, sell off. In this case, excuse me. In this case, what we want to look to right here is what is the relationship of the net flows onto exchange and off of exchange. And look at this. Before we had the sell-off, fewer and fewer and fewer coins were coming off of exchange. And we didn't quite eclipse coming, green here, but this relationship corresponded very, front running this sell-off. Now, we really want to pay attention to this over the next couple of days. Really figure, and I'm sure we're going to see some. Let's actually look at a couple other ratios here. I want to look at addresses with balance over 1,000. Okay, basically flat, a little bit of a push up, but sell off right here on this little blip. Exchange balance. I mean, this is so low. 11.8%. That's wonderful. That means 11.8% of the supply out there is on exchange. New addresses. Let's zoom out on this. That doesn't give you much data. Now let's simplify here, 7 days. So we're not really getting that. We're not getting new addresses yet because everything's still uncertain. Everything's still scary. But we can see, I mean, even the activity is still a bit flat. We're going to need some seismic shift, not speculative narrative. This is why I was alluding for about a month after we had this BlackRock push up here. I started to get very skeptical of price action going higher. Once we got, we're consolidating at this level, small little attempts. We could not even touch 32,000. We were very close. Then I started talking about it on this stream. If you're not watching on a daily basis, ding that bell. You got to be watching here. We've been breaking this down from day one when we started this stream back in February. We're already pushing up just shy of 10,000 people in not a fun market. We're growing because we're bringing the data and we've got a community here. We don't have trolls. This is all about breaking things down. But I was talking about a speculative pump that had no underlying fundamental change was likely going to sell off. That's why I was marking those levels down below. And then we get the basically falling out from under us here. We get the speculative pump, nothing changed, sell off coming back down. So what are we to do? Well, looking at the BitLab trading stack, we can see here with the BitLab intelligence with the moving averages and the buy sell signals, as well as the divergences marked out here on these charts. All these little numbers are basically the divergences, whether they're bullish or bearish. For some reason, when I stream with you guys, my computer is so slow. Oops. Let's see. So where we're at, so got a couple bullish divergences there, a little pump up, but it wasn't enough. And remember, any indicator package you use ever, whether even if it's the free indicators on TradingView, you want to make sure you're stacking your probabilities, trying to have things disagree with each other. Don't be mad if one signal gives you buy and you're excited, and then 3 signals say, maybe you consider this. Don't be upset at that. Say, thank God I'm smart and I have a strategy. Because you want, even if it pushes up a bit and you're like, oh, but it said buy, even those other things should have followed it. No, you want to have the setup, the support, and the confirmation. At least 3 different signals. I typically use 4 or 5, but we can see price action coming into this. Let's go down to the 4-hour. Price action coming into this. We had 2 bullish divergences right here. Let's go ahead and move this so you can see it. These 2 right here, we had money flow, hidden bullish divergence, and demand index, hidden bullish divergence. We see the stochastics pushing up and rolling over, starting to roll over. RSI is not looking, it's angled up, but it's it's coming into a level that it feels like it keeps getting rejected. And it's right around that 50% mark. We're getting a little bit of mixed signals here with bearish, bullish, neutral, neutral, bullish. Now, while the momentum wave is starting to come up, it's not super aggressive. And again, we're fighting just on the price action alone. Bitcoin is fighting to stay to break out of this weekly VWAP. And currently, looking on the 4-hour, currently we are above the weekly VWAP. But we've seen this large wick rejected at the point of control. Candles moving up. We could not get above this previous high. Rejected back down below the weekly VWAP. Came down, bounced on the trend signal line, came up. We're sitting here having that contention right here again. So let's see if is there any sort of got a little bit of a trend line there. We'll have to see how that plays out. But things are not, they're not yet stacking up for super strong bullishness. Now on the 3-day, we have this bit of a leg down here. All these long wicks. The bears have tried, the bulls have eaten up. The bears have tried, the bull ate it up over and over again. But we roll back over, tested this multiple times. And as it stands right now, it's still looking a little unclear. Now remember, what has changed fundamentally in these markets? Nothing. So while as much as I want to look at this support line, which we know is a pretty major support line that goes all the way back to November 2022, you know, 9 months now, 10 months. Here, we basically came down, bounced it, 1-2 candles up. Here, we bounced it. We tested this up pretty strongly. But now we've tapped it as well. So is this support starting to get weaker minus any change in any fundamental news narrative? Even if we get another speculative pump, if there's no fundamental change and we cannot on that speculative pump, you know, test up here into the 31.8, the 31.5, 31.8 zone, then any pump here that does not even clear the lows here doesn't matter. This is why right now it is a patience game. Patience. That's what we want. Let me go ahead and make sure. Now, where are we at with the volume? Now let's look at the open interest. Double click on the volume. Come down here to, where is it at? Source, open interest. Still sort of mixed bag. And look at this mixed bag of goodies here. A lot of liquidity below us in terms of open interest. But yeah, this all signs to me point to this more likely than not pushing down. Even here on the 3-day, although we have this triangle, we have no other signals here other than bouncing on a support line that we've drawn. We do have some bullishness on the 3-day, but we're trading sideways, and the bulls have had no courage fueled by support. You know, this trend fuel down here, which allows us to see the momentum, the money flow. The money flow on the 3-day is just neutral right now. It was a little negative, but it's gone neutral, which is why here, this is why this is gray. So let's go down to the 12-hour. So look, money flow has been coming out. Negative money flow. Stochastics came down. It's trying to make a move up, but it's so, there's no concerted effort that leans looking bullish to me right now. On the 8-hour, got a little bit of a signal. In fact, we have a huge wave here, much smaller wave, which makes sense because this is probably right when, yeah, this is following all the data from this huge dump here. Now, where we're at right now, 8-hour, we got a little bit of a bounce, but we cannot even, you see this? We're trying to get above this weekly VWAP, and the sellers in the space are saying no. In fact, we broke past this right into this order block right here from the BitLab volume, rejected. We could not even get above on a wick basis above this previous high. Now we have this doji candle right here, which is a very thin body candle, very thin and basically mostly wicks, showing no, basically a complete parity of the battle between the bulls and the bears, because we have a bullish initiative all the way up. The bears ate up the majority of this candle. And then we have a doji candle. Now we're having a little bit of an attempt here, but as it stands right now, we got 40. This is let's go to the 4 hour. We have 44 minutes left on the 4 hour candle. On this 8 hour, it's currently looking like a hammer candle, which is a candle which also supports similarly to what we're seeing here on this doji, suggesting that there's not there's a structurally, not even looking at indicators, structurally this is saying this is not yet ready. And even if we push up, we have this giant order block here and these previous high. We have so much work above us that even with these bullish attempts, it's just getting stifled, absolutely stifled. So what are we to do? Let's get down on a much smaller time frame. 1 hour. We got, I was going to say, yeah. I mean, look at this. All the consolidation here, speculative pump, sell off because it was speculative, inefficient movement, high volume candles on the BitLab intelligence, all part of the BitLab trading stack, high volume. This says there's a change of the stopping volume, which means there's an underlying weight in the market that's saying, we don't want this to go higher. We get one more attempt, but then stopping volume, another attempt, it didn't even get higher with these teal candles. That's high volume buying pressure, but then stopping volume. You see this? And what happens? It ultimately breaks down. Not only when it breaks down, we have a new consolidation that is essentially consolidating basically just below the lows of this range. And in fact, we came up all the way to it, which is where this equilibrium was of price before, and we're getting rejected. And then we have bearish divergences, and it gets down even below where this part of the range was. And you see, it's not looking healthy. Now, we absolutely could just get one of those, a good narrative push, a comment from somebody huge in politics or Elon Musk or any of these things, but we can't trade on the hope of what may happen or what may be said. We've got to look at, let's go back to volume. We got to look at what does the data say? And this is suggesting, even if we get a push up, that I do think that we're going to be testing back down here and ultimately, at minimum, testing into the low 25s, and my sort of target would be, yeah, I do think we can get down to the 22 sort of region, but my target would be actually more down in this low 24s, mid 23s. So basically 23,750 sort of range. So that's what I'm seeing. If we do push up, we can adjust course. And remember, we don't need to catch every part of every move. We want to be conservative enough to protect ourselves, but aggressive enough that we can catch the meat of moves. And if we miss 25 to 30, I'm okay with that. I'd rather catch 32, just above 32, with tight risk management and carry that up to next, all-time highs. Then trade in and out of this and get trapped in both directions and be losing 5%, 8%, 12%, 30% because I didn't have a stop loss. Oh, I over leveraged and I forgot to put stop loss. I got liquidated on half my position. We're not doing that. We're going to take this one step at a time. We're going to be making smart moves. Now, what is Ethereum looking like? Ethereum. It's actually, I want to come over here to TradingView. We're going to look at, here we go. Bitcoin dominance. What's going on here? Okay. A little bit of a falling wedge coming down into this previous high zone right here. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens with dominance over the next period of time, because this is going to have a huge impact on all those alts that we're trading. We'll talk about this a little more at the 3 p.m. stream today. But what is it looking like with total 3? So, I mean, this looks just like the Bitcoin chart. Push up, sell off, consolidating below. And remember, altcoins have a smaller market cap. They're much easier to be pushed around than when we're looking at Bitcoin. So if this does fall out similar to Bitcoin, it's more likely than not that the altcoins that you're holding, not all of them, but a lot of them, are going to lose more value on a percentage basis than Bitcoin does on the drop. Now, of course, this is also going to be shaped a little bit by what the narrative or thing is that drives that. But we also see over here on Bitcoin, sorry, not Bitcoin, on the dollar index. Dollar index broke out, came here, retested once, twice, and actually broke above this high and is still pushing higher. So we want Bitcoin to go higher, but we're also seeing metrics like this that are showing that there's basically downside pressure on risk narratives right now. So we got to be careful. So coming back over to where are we at? Let's go back to, where are we? Ethereum. Very similar to Bitcoin. And I mean, I want to see if there is, let's go to 8 hour. So we have that line. Let's delete that. Now, option T, I want to go from this point here. Now, so why did I do that? Because it looks like, much like with Bitcoin, there was a narrative around, there we go, narrative around price actions pulling back. So I want to see what another level would be for Ethereum if Ethereum acts in kind. Now look at this. We lost this level, bounced back up above it, came back. And where do we reject from? Came back up, tested this, rejection. So this, just like with Bitcoin, and regardless of what Bitcoin's doing, the charts on Ethereum themselves also suggest further downside. So are we going to come down and, you know, test down at 1547 or down here at 1500? I would love that opportunity. I would love that opportunity. If we do push back up, ultimately we've got to take out 1657, which is this sort of high here, and then also right above, remember all this huge order block right here as well, which is a lot of liquidity interest, likely either people getting out to set up for shorts for further downside or just general selling pressure as it is. But if we come up here, then, you know, if we work our way up here, 1680, we still have this to contend with. And then right above that, then we have all this work to do above us. So regardless of what your bias is, there is work to be done to the upside, and there are levels that we can watch to the downside. Coming down here to the 1 hour, what is it looking like it's going to do today? Let's zoom in on this. Okay, we have a zone right here. This order block right below us, part of the BitLab trading stack. See this order block right here and this reg one right above us auto-populates here on the BitLab volume, part of this indicator package. And we see this, I mean, look at this tap. Came up here, established this, tap. Now, are we going to come back down in here and tap the 1613s, 1610s? Or are we going to push up into this zone where it looks like we're getting lower highs here? This is just looking like a heartbeat. They're trying to find the direction of where the narrative is going to go next. And the bulls and bears are basically evenly matched right now. But the bulls are definitely on the weaker side of that because if we just look at this, we are trading to the downside with an attempt by the bulls that got rejected. So now the bulls don't have as much stamina. Now we're consolidating at a lower level. And we have all these levels above us. So if you are a bull, I ultimately want to say to you, make sure you have your profit level, taking some profits on trades right now. Don't go 30x leverage trying to catch this being the bottom before we have some parabolic run, because we have a lot of work to do between now and the halving. So I wanted to do a special shout out to people in chat right now. Alexandra G, Sawtooth Hiker, Dimple Paul, Jeanette, B Team Crypto, Zeus Cash. We got all the regulars in the house, the OGs, Cars for Crypto, Karen Swigart Harris, Total Clinic Solutions. We got a Car for Coin is actually what it was. Red Elephant, Bit Voodoo. I have a new monitor set up. It's so far away, it's hard for me to read all this stuff. Just want to say big shout out to everybody that's here on a daily basis. Matt C, Brad Guidell, Alex Green. Shout out to each and every one of you. Now let's look at so if price action starts moving down on Ethereum, I'm looking at holding above. If I want to remain bullish in any narrative, above 1600, because it's the bottom side of these wicks and also this order block. So if price loses this level, I do think we're coming down into this 1545 sort of region. And I've talked about this for 2 weeks now. We do find some legs here. I see us, bouncing, and if we do bounce, I should say, then we got to watch this weekly VWAP 1630. If we bounce up, get rejected there, and then come down, that's also something that could be playing out. We want to see where the narrative shift happens and when. So we got to be careful and orchestrate our stuff with probabilities. 187 people in the room, 128 likes. Everybody hit that like button. Do the whole community a favor. Let YouTube know you like this kind of crypto content. Hit the subscribe button. Join us here. I appreciate and I love each and every one of you. Thank you for being here. So we're seeing a lot of, look at this battle, bearish divergences, bullish divergences, bearish divergence, bullish divergence, bearish divergence. So there's a battle going on right now with Cardano, 25 cents. Who would have thought when it was at $3 that you'd have another opportunity below 30 cents? But this is looking very similar to everything we're seeing with the other coins. Downside, boom, leg down, boom, leg down. Are we going to get one more small leg down here into the 24s or down into the 23s? Let's go to the weekly on Cardano. Look at this. Expansion momentum on the weekly to the downside. Too many Fibonacci's. Here we go. Expansion to the downside. Stochastics angle down. RSI looking weak. What does it look like on the daily? Almost like a little bit of a head and shoulders here on the BitLab Trend Fuel. And again, everybody, all these indicators that I'm breaking down that make it easy to understand what's going on the chart, knowing you have a bearish setup. And also look at this bearish signal immediately followed by this diamond right here, which is, the diamond. This little diamond showing that there's it's very similar to the triangle, but this is rolling over. We see the stochastics coming down into this triangle, this diamond right here. And we have the bearish setup. And in addition to that, we have the high volume with stopping volume right there. What a signal that was to, either get out of a long position or take a short to come to the downside. And so all this, by the way, is at the BitLab trading stack. You can get right here, bitlabacademy.com, come to indicators, come down right here to trading stack, use give me 30 for 30% off first month. You can also get the indicators if you get the BitLab Pro right here, which gives you all the courses and the full premium Discord, as well as the indicators. You can also use give me. This is already about 30% off every month because it's bundled, but you can get another 30% off the first month by using give me 30. Now, coming back over here to Cardano, remember that weekly was expanding to the downside. We're looking like we're getting a little bit of an attempt, but the price action, look at this. Try to break above this trend signal line, part of the BitLab intelligence. Came up, formed an order block, broke down, came up, and is sitting here right tangled with the trend signal line as well as the weekly VWAP, and currently pushing to the downside. This is on the daily. What's it show on the 8-hour? I mean, this is, trying to get above the weekly VWAP, down below. Right now, same as Bitcoin, is trapped between the weekly VWAP and the trend signal line. If we lose this 25.2, I do think we're likely going to be, I ultimately think that this is going to achieve some lower prices. 23.93 would be kind of my next leg down idea for where this would go. Will we get down all the way down here into the low 20s? Do you think Cardano is going to get down there in the low 20s? Who knows? Again, remember everybody, 3 p.m. this afternoon. If you're watching anywhere else, make sure you come to youtube.com/@BitLab Academy. Give us a follow here. Go through some of these daily alpha videos here. A whole breakdown of the indicators here. Great conversation with Didi Taihutu. Great conversation with Mark Yusko. Great conversation with Dr. Jeff Ross. How to really break down your trading views, set up your templates, all the things that you can do. And again, remember, make sure you head over to BitLab Academy's Twitter page right here, @AcademyBitLab. Hit that follow, hit that retweet, hit that like. Everybody, before we go, I want to see everybody throwing in their lab coats, throwing in their microscopes, throwing in their little test tubes, and let me know, are you bullish or are you bearish for where we end up at the end of this week on Sunday? Do you think price is going to have a little bit of a relief, a little bit of a push up? Do you think we're going to be all of these coins in a tight range, or do you think we're going to be breaking down? Let me know. Comment below if you're watching somewhere else. And again, make sure everybody that you head over to the, you show up 3 p.m. for our afternoon all TA stream here. And again, make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that, that subscribe button and dinging that bell. And again, head over to bitlabacademy.com for all access to all these courses, all the indicators. And remember, you can always use give me 30 for right now, limited time, actually, not always. Give me 30 for 30% off your first month of any of those products. I love you all. I appreciate you all so much. I'm happy to be back with you, and I'll be seeing you all at 3 p.m. this afternoon. I will be on the Before Crypto show this afternoon, actually in a few minutes, doing some TA. So come drop some lab coats in there, and I will see you all in a few minutes. Adios, everybody. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Hit that like button, subscribe, and be my friend. Love you all. Hope you all have a wonderful day.